Ready? আচ্ছা গাইজ, আজকে আমাদের প্রজেক্ট ম্যানেজমেন্ট লেকচার 21, এভরিওয়ান পে অ্যাটেনশন। আজকে আমাদের প্রেজেন্টেশন। সো আমি যেটা বলতে চাই যে আপনারা কেউ ভয় পাবেন না। থিঙ্ক অফ ইট অ্যাজ ভেরি কি বলবো, ইউ আর হ্যাভিং আ কনভারসেশন উইথ মি। ওকে, ঠিক আছে, ভয় পাওয়ার কিচ্ছু নাই। গেট ওভার ইউর ফিয়ার। ওকে, আচ্ছা ফার্স্ট কে করতেছে? টিম গ্র্যাভিটি।
অনেক ভাই, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আচ্ছা ম্যাম, শুরু করি ম্যাম। Okay, we are now talking about this interesting presentation, use of project risk management and importance, and group name is a gravity, submitted by Aditi, then etc. And topics of discussions, we are teams is a topics of discussion is a this 12 topics on the subject what is risk management and risk sources of stake etc. Risk management in project, how will the identification, analysis and impact treatments and based on the assessment to possibility and to the consequences to the project, and that's why any kinds of risks in the project of the uncertain event and the that conditions that if the occurs objectives and to the project of the or negatively or positively in the as of the such as scopes or schedule cost of the project, and is given so formula is a probability of the events and consequences of the event. Next, risk versus amount of stakes. We can see there are risk versus amount of stakes. So in the chart, total life project cycle, and here is the risk and time. The risk component risk impact, there are not so many risks at the beginning of the project, and phase 3 and phase 4, phase 3 and phase 4, middle part of the highest risk of the implementation and termination more time is a passes and risk downward goes to the away. And why are the most highest always risks of the implementation termination? Because when I actually working produces, that time is a implementation and termination always risks or the most high risks of the implementation and termination, not planning phases, produce phases. And that was my opinions, and next we'll give the speech Faria Hossain.
Thank you very much.
Quick.
দাঁড়াও, ওয়েট। ও আচ্ছা,
ওকে, এটা
না 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 না, এটা না, রাকেশটার দিকে।
তুই ওখানে দেখ না, লুক এট এই যে এদিকে দেখ আর এদিকে ক্লিক কর।
আচ্ছা, এটা না, এটা আগের স্লাইডটা মিস করে দিয়েছি ম্যাম। এটা আমি এখান থেকে শুরু করছি। Hello everyone, I'm Faria Hossain. Now I will continue my part. Common project cluster, likely advanced in
Likely adverse event to control the project management is a potential risk. Potential risks such risks as such risks and
It's okay, যেটা বুঝেন সেটা বলেন।
হ্যাঁ
যেটা আপনি বুঝছেন সেটা বলেন।
আচ্ছা
You're talking about risk clusters,
জি
right?
ম্যাম
কি কি রিস্কে ভাগ করা হচ্ছে সেটা বলেন। What are the risk clusters? Everyone
When
else
specific-
quiet, please.
when specific accommodates in ম্যাম নারাজ তো সব ভুলে গেছে
Next slide then.
দেখেন এই স্লাইডটা তো আমার ছিল না আমার তো
এই একটা slide.
জি ম্যাম
What do you understand by risk cluster? What a risk cluster? How many risk clusters are there?
5
Okay, they are.
they are
Just name one. What kind of risk can you face when you're going?
technically commercially exclusive তারপর হচ্ছে contractually or legal
Yes, very good.
জি ম্যাম
Comparative risk clusters.
হ্যাঁ
So, what are your solutions? How do you think you can mitigate those risks? Only that just this one?
I think because I don't think I want to
Okay, how about your you explain me what are the financial risk cluster?
financial first one.
Explain any one. Commercial, financial, legal, whatever you understand. Give me an example or give me a definition, anything.
Example.
stay relaxed.
আমি সব ভুলে গেছি ভাইয়া কিচ্ছু মনে নেই আমার
No, let's just say whatever you understand. If you understand the concept, what is a commercial risk in a project?
কমার্শিয়াল ম্যাম বাংলায় বলবো
In English. You have to write your exam in English, right?
জি ম্যাম
What is a commercial risk?
commercial exists failed
Okay, next group member.
পেপার ইজ শান্তা
Shanta.
জি ম্যাম তুই দিয়ে
Assalamu alaikum. Everyone, assalamu alaikum. Firstly, আমি সরি বলতেছি আমার আম্মু অনেক অসুস্থ আমি জানি না আমি কিছু বলতে পারবো কি না তারপর আই ট্রাই না টেকনোলজি the risk breakdown matrix.
I think I was
না একটা টেকনোলজি রিস্ক ছিল ওটা কোথায় Not the risk breakdown of others project. This is a risk breakdown structure for short is chart that breakdowns project risks. Starting with higher level into sub-level of risks. Technology risks, technical risks are those event issue, definition research and development design are definition of others project.
Good morning, everyone. Now I am Aditi. Now I will be continue my part. What is the risk mitigation strategy? Risk mitigation strategy and to prepare for threat and faced by a business. There are five main mitigation strategies. Assume the risk, minimize of risk, share risk, transparency risk, contingency reserve. Now next part, control and documentation. Risk control actions are specific action to reduce a risk actions probability of happening. Documentation, good documentation is a prerequisite in the successful implementation of risk management as it acts both as a delivery message and mechanism. Now next part, project risk analysis. Risk response, risk submission, risk evaluation, risk analysis. That's all of my next part, Asif Iqbal. Thank you, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for letting me speak on stage, except I'm not on stage. Okay. I'm going to start from where my team's left off. It's going to be the qualitative and quantitative analysis. Qualitative is easy. It's just from one's perspective, is how a project actually feels like. It's more like subjectivity, not objectivity. It's just what's shown in the picture, that whether the project has a low risk or a high risk or a medium risk, just like it. But what we're going to discuss, that's the quantitative analysis. We have some formulas here. As you can see, probability of the failure, consequences of failure, risk factor, rule of thumb for risk factor, which is if the risk of factor is below 30% or 0.3, that will be low. Medium will be ranging from 30% to 70%, and if it goes above 70%, that will be higher. All right, we're done here. Next, we have a mathematical problem. I'm sorry for elaborating it that much, but it was necessary. Okay, here we can see a strange car, like not a normal car. It's let's get back to it. Suppose Unreal Technologies Limited has started a new project to produce miniature cars for handicapped people with no hands and for those who are confined to a wheelchair. Like those people who cannot drive a car, they have no ability to do that because they have no wrist or they are confined to a wheelchair, they have to transport like this. So what can they do? Can they never drive a car? We have this special project here that will enable them to drive on their own. As you can see, this car has already been produced in Europe. It will just open up the rear cover, then the passenger here, handicapped person, he will just go straight in, the cover will be shut in, and the driver will be able to drive. And for those who have no wrist, who have nothing to have a grip on it, the steering wheel, the project still has idea that the steering wheel have an augmentation system that will calculate the blood pressure from the wrist muscles, and they will then transfer the electrical signal to the CPU in front of it, and then the steering wheel will turn according to it. Well, the problem here is the company allocated $10 million for this specific project, and as you can see, there are some mathematical terms here that the PM, the probability of maturity here is 0.9 major, that is a major major score, sorry. And the PC, the cost, 0.9, extremely high. PA, the dependability, this project is new, quite new in the market, even in America, while the technology is of state of art. And yet, the technology here for this car requires quite a lot newer technologies. For that, the risk factor is higher. Okay, for the consequences of this project, well, the cost is 0.7, again, too high, but not that too high, significant. Cost schedule, that is 0.7 and blah, blah, blah. Everything is 0.7 on the significant scale. And the task contingency multiplier is 1.2. All right, whatever is done. We have the mathematical equation solved here. The probability of failure here is, we've calculated 0.9. Consequence of failure, we've calculated it also, that's 0.7. The risk of failure, that is 0.97, extremely high. We know if it's above 0.7 or 70% is extremely high. The project is high in risk, and all right, project is high, so what should we do to mitigate the risk? That is why my teams have left off, but I'm going to repeat it again. So if the project is high in risk, what we can do is we should try to mitigate it for whatever reason we know of. If it's uncertain that we cannot touch, then we cannot do anything. But if it's a known risk, then we should try to mitigate it by either accept it or refuse the project. Should we accept the project, then we should mitigate the risk by transferring or sharing the risk to some other projects. If that's not the case, then we should have insurance against it that will back up. If not, of course they should, but along with it, they should have some contingency fund. It's like a backup plan. It's for those times, like COVID-19, where it was uncertain, no one could have predicted it before 2019. So when this COVID-19 hit us, most of the companies that had this contingency fund for it, they backed up their projects with this contingency fund. Well, we have here, sorry, Rakesh, okay, I'm sorry, okay. We already have mentioned the total budget for this specific project. That will be $10 million. We multiply the task contingency multiplier here, 1.2. That will be $12 million, which is 20% of the estimated budget. That will be expected to bring in the budget. So that should some pandemic hit, like COVID-19 hit us, this specific 20% extra budget will back up our project to keep it running. And you might say that wasn't necessary for it, that we can just take some loan from bank, but there's no guarantee you might be able to get it. So we should have this backup plan. And as the project goes on in the future, most of the tasks that you've assigned this contingency fund for will be completed. The project will have sufficient technology, knowledge in the field. So over time, it will be covered up. It will not be a problem. I'm going to finish up right here. Thank you. Lovely presentation. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have much time, so next group, Project Isha.
Just going to go over now. It's going to
আমাদের যে স্লাইড আছে ওইখান থেকে কি বলতে হবে, মানে আমরা যে স্লাইডটা ক্রিয়েট করেছি ওটা থেকে বলতে হবে নাকি ম্যাডাম আপনার কাছে বলা যাবে?
মানে আপনি যে স্লাইড বানিয়েছেন সেই স্লাইড থেকে আপনি দেখে কথা বলবেন, আমার আবার ওখানে ঢুকাবেন কিভাবে?
মানে আপনার তো আছে আপনার আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে বেশি ইজি।
না আমাদের স্লাইড তো মেকিং শিখতে হবে না, কিভাবে প্রেজেন্ট করতে হয়, কিভাবে ডাটা অ্যানালিসিস করে কিভাবে ইয়ে করতে হয়। আমি সব কিছু শেষে লাস্টে একটা আপনাদেরকে ইনপুট দিব। যারা মোবাইলে আছে তাদের যে রবিনকে ডাক দেন, পেয়ার করে দেবে।
রবিন ভাই
এই হয়ে যাচ্ছে বারবার কাছে
তুমি সদস্য একটা
কাজটা আছে
কোন কাজ মিস হবে না
Do you have pen drive? Pen drive আছে কেন? তাহলে pen drive নিয়ে করতে পারেন।
একটু এটা কাস্টিং অপশন ওদের উপরে ইউজ করে
আপনি তাকে ল্যাপটপ ইউজ করেন, ওকে ইমেইলে পাঠান না।
আচ্ছা হয়ে গেছে ভাইয়া হয়ে গেছে
not happen, it could also be an event with a positive consequences. A possibility of lose, not the loss itself, surrounds of problems, find the root cause and not the leads. Some things that makes the project special in the widest sense, everything is in wisdom. Helps identify better ways of handling problems. Why we need risk management, right? The only alternative to risk management is crisis management. Crisis management and crisis management is much more expensive, time consuming and embarrassing. Without good risk management practices, government can't manage resources effectively. Effectively, risk management means more than preparing for rewards, but also taking advantage opportunities to improve everything. Thank you. Next.
I'm gonna start with the key terms. Risk exposure to chance of hazard. What
From the previous one, this one. How does risk management help?
risk management helps increase the awareness of understanding what are likely the problems that gonna happen or it's gonna impact my course of action. Allows the intelligent, informed risk taking. It gives you some information what's gonna happen and what are the problems that you may occur when you are I was on the second, I think. Allows the intelligent, informed risk taking. It gives you the information about what's likely, what's gonna happen or what may happen, and how the impact would be on your project. So it is good to have you informed. Focuses efforts, helps. Helps prioritize. Yes, it's proactive. It's not reactive. It's something that you prepare earlier, so you don't react to the problems, or you just prepare yourself earlier for the probable problems and that outcomes. What you need to do if that problem occurs. Improves outcomes, achieves achievement and objectives, enables accountability, transparency and responsibility amongst your group and project, and lastly and maybe even means survival, and it's important for the survival of the project. Key terms: risk exposure to chance of hazard, risk level. A measurement of represent the significance of the risk, and controls actions that could be eliminated to reduce the risk level. residual risk, risk level after implementing controls, and risk response and action on risk, whether to accept or not to accept. Who is involved? Customers are involved, and end users are involved, project team members are involved, senior management, then related project teams, and vendors and suppliers are involved. When it happens, it's a continuous process, starts from the proposal stage, ends on project completion, and review stages also. Business case analysis, when you do project approval, it starts from project approval, from the proposal stage, then project approval, project planning, technology everywhere. It's basically from the starting to the implement to the termination of the project. That is enough for me, or I'll go forward? Okay, the risk management basics are to first, risk uncertainty maybe affect the achievement of objectives, and affect mitigation stages, controls, and reduce the negative risk or increase opportunities. Residual risk is the level of risk after evaluating the effectiveness of controls. Acceptance actions should be based on residual risk. Thank you.
আমি তো পড়ি না। লাইট অফ করে দেবো? দিয়ে দিব? Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Zahidul Arif from the member of Project Hilsha. Now I'm going to talk about the risk management. It's a simple the framework, the steps by steps. First, we can see the step one in establish objectives, and then second, identify risk and controls, and third, assess risk and controls. Fourth, evaluate and take action, and monitor and report. There is so many ways we can identify the risk, or that there is some techniques as well. So here I can show you some identification of techniques, where I can see the first one is the brainstorming. Through the brainstorming, we can easily figure out the risk, and the risk we can manage afterwards. And then interviewing, we can discuss, we can talk, we can analysis with the interviewing, and we can figure out the risk. Where you can see the root cause analysis, like from where, from how, or when the risk arise. So root cause analysis, through the root cause analysis, we can figure out the risk, and the checklist and the SWOT. Risk management is critical to all levels of decisions, though I'm not pretty much aware of this slides. So I want to say something from my what we learned from the class. Especially we can see here we all talk about the risk and risk management, but one most important part is how we can mitigate the risk. So one of my classmate Asif already mentioned about some mitigates, how we can mitigate the risk. So I'm gonna go with that same path. We can first figure out the risk and the risk area, or the risk how big it is or how high it is with some tools, with some risk management tools. And after that with RIM as well. So after that, we will decide we will accept it or not, we will deny it or we will accept it. So yes, and then we can, if we accept it, see there is some ranks, there is some points we can sign, and we can figure it out that yes, if the point is higher, then we will deny the risk. If its point is medium or the lower, we can accept the risk. So if we accept the risk, then we have to work with that, how we can mitigate. So there is some ways as well. We can share with the team members, team project members. We can transfer through insurance and some policies or some financial companies, or if it's related about the financial stuff. And then of course there's other ways of mentoring. We can do the cross training from the staff, or we can give some, what is called actually, some training, cross training and all. And after that is the control and documentation. So documentation is a big and important part from my side. Yes, documentation is when, who, whom, or by how the risk arise. So yes, that's all from my side. Thank you. And the next part will continue. Abul Bashir Sharia. Thank you very much.
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. So, my team members already explained about what is risk, what are the importance of it. So, let me categorize the risk. There are many types of risks. For example, political risk, outdoor risk, financial risk, delivery risk, many kinds of risks. So, all the types of risks are provided below over here. Let me go to next page. Okay, so prioritizing the risk, there are many types of risks. For example, very low, unlikely to occur, very little impact, medium, low. Okay, we have to categorize the risk, that what type of risks are there available. Okay, we have to find it out that how much the risk is. As we already know, any kinds of uncertainty is known as risk. So we cannot take any risk for my project. Taking risk means making a financial loss to my project. So, going to the next slide, third dimension, rating risk, proximity. We have to look into our project that how much duration of the project is. Like, when can I identify the risk, or when can the risk happen? Like immediate now, less than 6 months, between 6 to 12 months. We have to find it out, and we have to fight back with that risk. So this is risk rating. My classmates already told you about this, that what are the risk factors and how can we identify the risk, and what are the high level. These are the green side are the low level of risk. Can you please? Okay, thank you so much. These are the low level of risk. The green one and the yellow one is a slight risk, and the red one is really very risky. If my project falls on the red side, then I should not invest or put money into my business or project, because it will hamper my project a lot. So risk reporting communication. As I already told you, that the red part is the critical risk, and we should not take the project. And the low risk one, we have to accept the proposal and take the risk, because the risk level is very, very low. So we can take moderate risk, but high risk, but not critical risk. Critical risk is really very tough for us, because it can make losses for the project. This is the likelihood, the low risk, I already told you. Okay, so there are some things you can say low risk can convert to high risk sometimes because of some natural disasters, natural things, like for example projects which undergo with political issues or financial issues then some low risk can also transfer to higher risk. So we need to tackle it as soon as possible. So measure and report implements progress. So we have to advance the capabilities to identify major management risk exposure with tolerance. So these are the things that we need to implement in our business, that how much we can, how much the company is capable of taking the risk. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. I will be moving to our last attendant, Ms. Brishti. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Tanzila Bristi, the cyclistics and the risk manager. Exercise: identify risks that the cyclist face in cycling to work, report back, risk threats, death injuries, reputation, financial damage to the bike, sunburn, opportunities, exercise, sunlights, reputation, financial role model, environment, mitigation strategies for threats, death, injuries, other injuries, reputation, great outfit, financial, stopping at stop signs, damages to the bike, regular maintenance, sunburn, sunscreen, heads, token, acknowledgement, participate approach to risk management by financial management institution. Introduction to risk management for outsourcing projects. That's all.
Ma'am, can I end the project properly? একটু আমাকে দেন ফোনটা। No problem. We'll be ending it. She's sick, that's why. So welcome back everyone. So there are many types of risk, like for example threat, head injury, many kinds of natural factors. These factors can
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Sheikh Rahman Kubit. I have no group name, no group member. I just came here to say something about our risk management project. In a project, we at first we search some risk, identify the risk. What is our risk? Then we measure the risk. It's high. It's high or low. It's high or low from measurement. We find or we make some solution. How can we make over, or how can we get out from the risk? Is the solution is good for our project? We'll implement solution in our project, and we will monitor the result that it will be good or bad for our project. That's it.